One of the most important items a soldier carries has a name that sounds like it belongs on a family pet. It's not official, it's not flattering, and yet everyone instantly knows what you're talking about. So how did a piece of serious military equipment end up with a nickname that feels oddly playful? There's a real story behind it, and it's way more logical than you might expect. I'm Professor Everything, and today we'll be answering the question, why are military ID tags called dog tags? Right here on Explaining Everything. For most of history, armies had a big problem. Soldiers were really hard to identify if something went wrong. Uniforms weren't standardized, paperwork got lost, and battles were absolute chaos. If a soldier was injured or killed, there was often no reliable way to know who they were. Sometimes notes were stuffed into pockets. Sometimes names were written on scraps of paper. Sometimes nothing. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, modern armies started realizing this was a serious issue. The U.S. Army officially ordered identification tags for soldiers in 1906. These early versions weren't fancy, just simple metal discs stamped with a name, rank, and serial number. The goal wasn't style. It was basic, grim practicality. Identify the soldier no matter what happened. At this point, nobody was calling them dog tags. They were just identification discs. Functional, serious, about as exciting as a filing cabinet. Here's where the nickname sneaks in. Around the same time soldiers started wearing these metal discs, dogs were wearing something very similar. In many cities, dogs had to wear license tags, small metal plates or discs stamped with identifying information. Sound familiar? Soldiers noticed the resemblance immediately. A metal tag, worn around the neck, stamped with identifying info. The comparison was impossible to unsee. And soldiers, being soldiers, did what humans always do in serious situations. They started joking about it. Calling them dog tags was dark humor at its finest. Not official, not respectful, but memorable. The name spread through barracks, training camps, and eventually entire armies. By World War I, the term was everywhere, even though no military handbook ever officially named them that. The nickname stuck because it made sense instantly. You didn't need an explanation. You saw the tag, you saw the dog version, and your brain connected the dots in half a second. Here's the interesting part. Militaries usually hate unofficial terms. If something isn't in the manual, it tends to get corrected fast. But dog tags survived anyway. Why? Because everyone understood it. The term was short, clear, and oddly comforting. Saying identification discs sounds cold and bureaucratic. Saying dog tags sounds human. It sounds like something people actually wear, joke about, complain about, and rattle accidentally while trying to be quiet. During World War I and World War II, millions of soldiers used the term casually, and it followed them home. Civilians heard it. Movies used it. Books repeated it. By the time anyone could have tried to replace the nickname, it was already baked into culture. Even today, militaries may use formal terms in documentation, but everyone, from recruits to veterans, knows exactly what you mean when you say dog tags. It's one of those rare cases where slang didn't just survive, it completely won. There's an irony to all of this. Dog tags sound silly, but their purpose is anything but. They're designed to identify someone under the worst possible circumstances. That contrast between a goofy nickname and a serious function is probably another reason the name stuck. Soldiers often rely on humor to cope with stress, danger, and uncertainty. Giving something grim a ridiculous name makes it a little easier to live with. Calling them dog tags turns a heavy reality into something you can joke about without disrespecting what it represents. And despite the nickname, no one actually thinks soldiers are being compared to dogs in any literal way. It's about the object, not the person. The tag looks like a dog's tag. End of story. No barking, no fetch, no sit. The nickname wasn't planned, approved, or officially stamped into existence. It spread because it was obvious, funny, and easy to remember. Over time, that casual joke became the most recognizable name for one of the military's most important identifiers. It's a perfect example of how language really works, not through rules and manuals, but through people noticing something, laughing about it, and repeating it until it sticks. So the next time you hear the term dog tags, you'll know it's not an insult, a mystery, or a strange coincidence. It's just soldiers being human and giving a serious piece of metal a name that refused to take itself too seriously. If you learned something new today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and now you know the reason. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.